Three, welcome back here on BT. First week of school. How about this? Ring the bell. School's in. Not a freshman, a business guru. And I'm going to throw that your way because Brian Wong is here, author of this book you're about to see on screen, The Cheat Code. It just came out, and let's go over the facts off the top. At the age of 14, high school diploma. 18, bachelor's degree at UBC. And before the age of 25, $24 million raised in venture capital funding. That is your story. And you talk about superpowers in the book. Let's start here. What do you consider to be your superpower?
Yeah, so one of the cheat codes in the book that I talk about, and it really is a collection of really actionable things that you can use to get ahead and remove a lot of the mental barriers that people have to prevent them to getting to the successful self they want to be. My superpower is getting people super excited about stuff. And that's kind of all I do every day, from potential customers to existing employees to potentially new employees to investors, you name it. And I always try to ask people to figure out their own, because there comes a point in your life as an adult where you try to focus less on fixing your weaknesses and more on honing in on your strengths. And I think when we go through school, we get told, hey, don't get a bad grade here, fix all that and spend time on that. But the thinking should be, what are you actually naturally good at? Where are you passionate? Where it just doesn't feel like a chore, it just flows, and then focus all your energy on making that your big thing.
Point of focus is front and center in this book, and although it's called Cheat Code, I want to put this out here. This is about making smart decisions and getting ahead with success. Let's talk about messaging as one of your hacks, and we'll call it that on the business level.
Sure.
About keeping things simple and getting the attention of top leaders.
Yeah, so a couple quick things. So the best way to get anything you want in life is to cold email and to cold LinkedIn ad. Now, I'm not advocating for everyone to spam people. I'm saying that there's a lot of folks that might go, oh, why would this CEO want me to email them or reach out to them? And everyone has that thinking. And if you're that one person who ends up emailing them or reaching out to them, they'll usually respond to you. And the quick trick I use is you actually put the first dot last name at email@thecompany.com as your first guess in the to field. And in the BCC field, you put every other permutation you can think of, and when you send it, they don't know how desperate you were to try to get to them, and so you see all the combinations that didn't work and the one that did work. And the other thing I advocate for is to keep your emails brief, keep the things that you're doing to reach out to these folks brief, because you don't want to dump an entire essay of everything you ever wanted to do with them, because what will happen is they might respond, you just go, no, not interested. They just rejected your entire life's work. You want to come to them with something brief, something that's kind of a teaser. And in fact, it works great in both ways. What happens is when you send it and it's brief and they read it, they go, who's this person who was so bold to just send me 3 sentences about what it is that they want to work with me on? And they're more curious to find out more and dig in. Other things are try to send messages to folks at uncommon times. So early in the morning when they're kind of getting ready for work or they're commuting to work, they will check emails. You will pop up to the top of their inbox, and they will get rid of that email first or respond to you first or whatever that might be. And then also evenings and weekends, because a CEO's job is definitely 24/7.
Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday, Sundays. They will use that time to catch up on these types of things.
You also talk about in this book, and I think these are great hacks for communication, that fear is your friend. Anybody in a transition or anybody trying to figure out what my focal point is going to be has a degree of managing uncertainty. What's your approach on this to really move forward and gain momentum?
I think with any sort of entrepreneurial mind, and really this is kind of what the book's targeted towards, is anyone with an entrepreneurial mindset. You can work at a big company and still want to create change, create something new. This is kind of the generation I think we're in. We're the creative generation. We have the technology. We're enabled with it. We want to build things. How many people have you heard app ideas from? Because they all know that it's possible now that these technologies have been revealed and are now used by everyone. And so when you think about fear, I think a lot of it is more about how can you reach as high as you can. Think really big and not be afraid to aim for the Mars and then kind of reach the moon. And it's really not that bad to reach the moon. So we always try to say when you think big enough, at least that type of magnitude of thinking is what attracts people around you for them to want to follow you. If it's something that's really kind of no one feels that passion, no one wants to be with you on that trek.
You talk a lot about recreation in business as well and the importance of pushing forward new ideas. But from people that come to you that ask you to mentor them, and from what you've learned with business, what is the biggest mistake entrepreneurs are still making today?
Actually, a lot of it is just trying to get coffee with me and trying to over coffee things and like over research things. Is like, the point is that time you could have been spending having coffee with me, you could have been building something, right? So I try to share with folks that the habit of getting into creation and that inertia, just doing things, getting your hands dirty, is incredibly critical as an entrepreneur, right? Just talking about it, researching things is inherently against being an entrepreneur, right? Because if you need the data to go into it, you're not taking that risk and you're not thinking in the mindset of, okay, whatever. It's not like my situation would have been any different. And by the way, the best risk assessment framework I like to share with folks, and this is one of the cheat codes as well, is ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Because honestly, when you follow through that entire thought exercise, it's really not that bad, right? And the worst that can happen is you end up, your parents are still doing your laundry and cooking you a nice meal. Like, that's the worst that could happen. Go for it. Really, there isn't not anything that's holding you back. And I think we've been sold this dream of being secure and having a lot of this, sort of, hey, you're in your 20s, get your many letters after your name and things like that. But your 20s is a time to go and slip and fall and try crazy things and go nuts, right? And I like to call it jumping off a cliff and growing wings while you're falling.
How old are you again?
25.
It's amazing. The book's called The Cheat Code. Check it out. He's got a live event coming up tonight. Talk about great advice for the first week of school. You'll be at UBC with your people, 6:30 tonight?
Yep. That's the one.
More advice coming your way, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions. Follow along on Twitter. Brian, great to meet you.
Thanks again.
Thanks for the book. A lot of great takeaways.